So with the new Strand artifact mods, I wanted to go over the top 10 Strand weapons in my opinion, and go over some ones that I think have potential with the new artifact. Keep in mind, perks like Hatchling and Tear and any Strand synergized perks are going to be unreal alongside this. So the first new weapon that jumps into my mind is Unloved. As you can see here, this is the new Strand hand cannon, and you get this from Sundered Doctrine. This is a 2-round heavy burst, and on this weapon you can get things like Hatchling and Tear, and that would be the perk combination that I go for. Here is a list of all the perks, so you could see you could go with Dragonfly Tear, but the one you want to look out for is Hatchling and Tear. 2-round heavy burst makes it really hard hitting. Along with the synergies from the artifact, it is an unbelievable weapon that you can definitely get hold of very easily. Look out for this one for sure. The second weapon is also from that same dungeon from Sundered Doctrine, Unsworn. As you can see here, this is a new Strand Trace Rifle, and on this you can get perks like Target Lock, you can get Detonator Beam, you can get Hatchling, Tear, Rewind Rounds. You could get any sort of roll you want here, but again, Hatchling Tear is going to be unbelievable. As you can see, these two weapons as well have Elemental Hone-In, so if you're running Prismatic builds and not specifically going into Strand, you could use this and go into the Prismatic version of it. But I'm talking here today about purely Strand synergy, so Hatchling Tear, that is exactly what you want. The next weapon I want to talk about, and this is a weapon I've loved for a long time, is Rufu's Fury. So this is a Strand kinetic auto rifle that you get from the Root of Nightmares. As you can see here, here's its perk pool. You can get stuff like Reconstruction, Demolitionist, Rewind Rounds, and then in the second column, Hatchling, Frenzy, and Target Lock. I think my adept role is Demolitionist Target Lock, but if you can get Hatchling on this, this can be an unreal weapon. Do not sleep on this AR, it is insanely strong. Keep in mind, origin traits on certain weapons as well are going to make a massive difference, so for this one, if you're using all the set weapons from Root of Nightmares, you can get the damage stacking on the weapons. So if you're doing that, this is insanely strong. As for number 4, we have the Final Warning sidearm. So if I remember correctly, Final Warning you get from collecting all Strand fragments from the pond. Can't remember quite what the vendor's called, but if you go to Neomuna and you go inside the building up from Nimbus, inside there's a pool, and you can enter that vendor and you can buy stuff with your Strand materials that you're earning, and then you can trade that for the fragments, and you need to unlock, I believe, everything in that vendor, and then you will be given the quest for Final Warning. So the reason this one stands out is it's a Strand sidearm with auto lock if you're using it. Also, the catalyst gives it a great boost, but keep in mind it's anti-barrier sidearm this season, so that's going to make a massive difference as well. A quick thing to point out is it being anti-barrier is great, but all these weapons should be anti-barrier as long as you have no mods on them, because when you're picking up the orb from the artifact, you're getting unraveling rounds, and that gives you anti-barrier. So our next weapon is Euphony. This is a Strand linear fusion you get from Salvation's Edge. So you do have to go and do this raid to get this. However, there is a cheese that I've posted recently, which means you can easily get this weapon. Of course, it's still RNG based, so it's chance that you get it, but this allows you to do it without learning the mechanics, so feel free to check out that video. But the way this exotic works, it builds perfectly into Fredlins and that type of damage, so synergizing this with the artifact and your Strand stuff is going to make it unbelievably strong, especially alongside Particle Deconstruction this season. For our next weapon, we have the Scatter Signal. This is a primary fusion rifle. This was from, I believe, Season of the Wish. So as you can see here, here's its perk pool. So here we're looking for either Slice or Overflow and Controlled Burst or Hatchling. I think the role I have is Overflow Controlled Burst, and this was crazy for DPS back in that season, which was heavily Strand based. But now having these perks back and producing these Fredlins debuffing, it's going to be insane. Keep in mind, Slice could work perfectly well, because I believe one of the boosts is you deal more Strand damage once somebody's debuffed by a Strand debuff. So having that Slice would be unreal. That would work really well with Controlled Burst and further enhance the damage. So our next weapon on the list is one none of you should be surprised to see and probably all expected to be here, the Call. This is a Strand rocket assisted sidearm. I'm sure you all know how good this is, but if you don't, here are the perks. So here you're looking for things like Slice, maybe Demolitionist, Beacon Rounds, Lead from Gold. I'll be honest, you can almost have any perk on this thing and it's insanely strong. I believe my role is Lead for Gold 1 for all, but you could also go for Slice Hatchling if you want that proper Strand combination. You could do the Vorpal to get the damage boost, but all around this sidearm is unbelievably strong, and this is not one you want to miss out on. You get this from the Pale Heart by earning your red borders over time, and eventually you can craft it. Our next weapon is going to be our first heavy. This is the Cataphract GL3. So this is the Strand grenade launcher you get from Trials of Osiris. For some of you who were involved in the Bento token event, you may already have this as a god roll. I believe the roll was Envious Assassin Bait and Switch, and they allowed you to enhance it. But as you can see here, this is just going to be an unbelievably strong heavy weapon, especially to swap to with Bait and Switch and Envious. The perfect combination you can have. If you don't like Envious, you've got auto loading, you've got field prep. And if you don't want Bait and Switch for some weird reason, you can definitely build into Cascade Point, or you could go for either Chain Reaction or Hatchling for the ad clear. But this is definitely a DPS weapon. Envious Bait and Switch is what you want. As mentioned, this is a Trials weapon, so this is just waiting for it to come in rotation and then earn it. Don't forget, you can also focus engrams if you want to do it that way. Moving on to our second heavy, we have the Scintillation Strand Linear Fusion Rifle. This is a Nightfall drop, and of course you can earn its adept rewards in GMs eventually. This is probably the best Strand Linear in the game, so you can get things like Rewind Rounds, Envious, Auto Loading or Slice. Any of them are good. I believe I have Envious Bait and Switch, but again, you can get Hatchling on this, you can get Reservoir Burst, Surrounded, Bait and Switch, and Firing Line. So there's a lot of DPS options there, and this is going to be insanely strong in your DPS loadout. And our final weapon before a couple of honourable mentions is the Resounding Fusion Rifle. You get this from the seasonal vendors such as Gambit, Strikes, and Crucible. You'll earn this over time, and this comes with unreal perks. Moving on to two quick honourable mentions, and then that'll finish the video off. The first one is the Cynosure or Cynosure, whatever this Strand rocket launcher is called. This looks unbelievably strong and has a great perk roll. We've got things like Reconstruction, we've got Clown Cartridge, we have Envious Arsenal, we have Slice, we have Overflow, all insanely good magazine perks. Then in the second column, we've got Hatchling, we've got Elemental Hone-In, we've got Cluster Bombs, Chain Reaction, Bipod, Explosive Light, High Ground. There's a lot of different combinations here. I'm not sure what would be the best, to be honest with you. But Reconstruction, Clown Cartridge, or Overflow sounds very good. And I think Elemental Hone-In is going to be a demon here to use, and you should take full advantage of that. So the final weapon I wanted to mention is the Barrow Dyad, the new Strand exotic submachine gun. I haven't messed around with this too much yet to know what it can do, but it definitely has potential. Being the focused exotic for the season, they're always going to have built the artifact around it or into it, and it's going to be strong this season. So keep an eye out for this. Couple of catalysts, I believe, are coming out. So get your catalysts and get testing this weapon. But that's it for the video, guys. I hope this helped you out. If it did, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.